So now, our previous class, we started discussing about VLANs, right? So what are the VLANs, how to create and how to implement, and what are the advantages of VLANs in one switch. So today we'll see same concept, VLANs concept in two switches. Simple example, in switch A, in first switch, in switch A, device 1, device 2, device 3, 1, 2, 3. Even in switch B also, first three devices are sales department and last three devices are HR department. Like 1, 2, 3 ports are sales, 6 or 8 ports are HR department. Then how to allow the communication from switch A to switch B, same department. So to minimize broadcast and to provide security, we created VLANs, one single VLAN divided into multiple VLANs. For sales department, VLAN 10, for HR department, VLAN 20, even sales for switch B, sales department, VLAN 10, like this. So first rule is here in switch A for sales department, what is the VLAN ID we created? VLAN 10. In switch B also for sales department, VLAN ID must be same, VLAN 10. In switch A for HR department, what is the VLAN ID created? VLAN 20. In switch B, HR department also must be VLAN ID, VLAN 20. So VLAN IDs must match mainly. That's the first rule actually. Switch B VLAN 10 for sales, switch B VLAN 20 for HR. But how many cables need to be connected from switch A to switch B? How many cables need to be connected? Have
One
connected
cable.
one link from port number 24 to port number 24. Actually, any port to any port you can connect. Example 24. What are the available ports? In switch A, port number 20 is available, connect. In switch B, port number 23 is available, you can connect. Any port to any port you can connect. There is no rule to connect to 24, 24 only. So whatever available ports you connect actually. Example 24, 24 I connected actually. But point is, by default, every switch ports are in two modes. Port number 24, it can be access port, access mode, or we call access port. If port number 24, it is access mode, and access mode ports will allow VLAN 1 traffic. Allows access mode ports only allows which VLAN traffic? VLAN 1 traffic. Like port number 4, there is some computers, port number 5, port number 4, they are connected. Management VLAN, VLAN 1. So this link, which is uplink from switch A switch B, this link allows VLAN 1 traffic only. Because this port is by default, what is the mode? Access mode. If it access mode allows only VLAN 1 traffic. What about VLAN 10 traffic? What about for VLAN 20 traffic? Like how to allow VLAN 10 and VLAN 20? A requirement is what sales and HR, sales should communicate. HR should communicate. But this link allowing only one VLAN 1 traffic only is not allowing the all VLANs traffic. So we need to change that port mode access into trunk, trunk mode. If you change port number 24 access into trunk mode, now trunk mode allows multiple VLANs traffic. So port number 24 allows VLAN 10 traffic, VLAN 1 traffic, VLAN 20 traffic, VLAN 30. How many VLANs we configure on A and B? The trunk port allows all VLANs traffic actually, multiple VLANs traffic. Whereas if his port is access port, if his access port allows which VLAN traffic? Only allows only VLAN 1 traffic actually. So you must make sure if that link is not allowing multiple VLAN traffic, it might be access port. So you should configure both ends. An A24 port must configure trunk and B24 port also must be configured trunk. Then the link we call trunk link. So trunk link allows multiple VLAN traffic. Okay.
So the access mode port rule is applied for only switch or any devices.
Switch ports. Trunk port allows multiple VLAN traffic to pass through a single physical connection by adding a header to Ethernet frame. So read this point again and tell me answer. How trunk port allowing multiple VLAN traffic is clearly mentioned. Trunk port allows multiple VLAN traffic to pass through a single physical connection by adding a header to Ethernet frame. So please remember how exactly trunk allowing multiple VLAN traffic by adding a header to Ethernet frame. Agree? So what we call this process? Adding a header, Tyler. What we call this process?
Encapsulation.
Encapsulation. So now we are going to discuss about trunk encapsulation. The trunk encapsulation are two methods. One is trunk encapsulation inter switch link and 802.1q ISL and 802.1q. ISL is a Cisco proprietary protocol. It works in only Cisco devices, Cisco switches. 802.1q is open standard. It works in multiple vendors actually. If switch A is a Cisco switch, B is a Cisco switch, then ISL works actually. But point is what ISL or dot one Q will do? It's add a header. The header size will be 30 bytes. Which header size? ISL header size is 30 bytes. In case of dot one Q header size is only 4 bytes. Simple header. Simple header, faster communication. If header size is simple, then communication will be faster. But ISL will do what? For every frame, it is adding 30 bytes of header. 30 bytes. The header size is 30 bytes. For every frame, is adding a header action. In case of one Q protocol, header size is 4 bytes. Simple and faster communication. It don't use much for bandwidth action. And moreover, it is open standard. It works in multiple vendors. So that might be the reason even Cisco switches also. By default, one Q is enabled, not ISL. Even in Cisco switches also, in layer 2 switches, 802.1q protocol is enabled by default. So in all Cisco switches, 802.1q works actually. Trunking protocols of two different types. ISL, Interswitch Link Cisco proprietary protocol, 30 bytes header size. 802.1q is open standard, 4 bytes. So to allow multiple VLAN traffic, what we need to configure? If we configure trunk, you know how trunk works? If enable trunk, which protocol enable here? 802.1q. So what 802.1q will do? Whenever traffic will come to trunk port, is adding a header. Data traffic, all data frames, it's adding what? Header. That header we called tag. It's adding a tags. Generally, what is the purpose of tags? Identification. So switches will identify data is belongs to which VLAN based upon tag information. Based upon this tag information, switch can identify whether this is data belongs to VLAN 10 or VLAN 20. Like that. So inside the tag information, VLAN IDs will be there actually. Data plus VLAN 10. If traffic is coming from VLAN 10, when it comes to trunk port will add, oh, data is belongs to VLAN 10. So tag is added. Tag is adding here. Now data VLAN ID, both will come to B24 port. Data packet and VLAN ID will come to B24 port. What B24 port will do? By seeing the tag information, B24 can come to know, oh, this data is belongs to VLAN 10. Then tag is removed. The tag is removed, data will flooding, broadcasting to VLAN 10. Tag is removed. Tag is added and tag is removed. So when tag is added, when tag is removed, when data will come to trunk port, then tag is added. When data is leaving the trunk port, tag is removed. So this method we call VLAN tagging method. VLAN tagging is used when a link needs to carry more than one VLAN traffic. Otherwise, trunk is not required. If it's only VLAN 1 traffic, then trunk is not required. When the link is carrying multiple VLAN traffic, then tag is required. Each frame has to be a tag. Specify that VLAN it belongs to. Tag is added to the frame when it goes on the trunk, and tag is removed when it leaves the trunk. Switches forward the traffic based upon tag information. Got it? Yeah. So this is configuration part.
If we don't configure allowed VLAN by default, it will allow all the VLANs.
All VLANs.
Okay.
If you want to allow the specific VLANs, then you can give this command actually, allowed VLANs. Let me configure quickly VLANs in this both switches. Then switch A and switch B. In switch A, show VLAN brief. We don't have any VLANs right now. VLAN 10, name, sales. VLAN 20, name, HR. Now we need to implement the ports. Interface, I'm using range command. Pass Ethernet 0/123. Switch port mode, I'm making these ports are access ports. Because 1, 2, 3 ports are not connected to switch link, right? This is end devices are connected. I'm making as a access ports. So switch port access should be VLAN 10. Similarly, 6 to 8 port should be in VLAN 20. Same configuration in switch B. Show VLAN brief. Switch B is done already. VLAN 10 sales, 1, 2, 3 ports are implemented. VLAN 20. So VLAN IDs must match. Now we need a connectivity from switch A to switch B. Using a cross cable. These are the available ports. Port number 10, port number 9 to 24 is all available ports. Can use any port. Example, port number 14 to port number 14 I connect. So port number 14, what is the default mode? Access, right? If it is access port, so this port number 14 link allows which VLAN traffic now? It allows only VLAN 1 traffic. Agree? So this link allows VLAN 1 traffic only. I'm trying with red zone to red zone. It's failed. Blue zone to blue zone. It's a failed. Now if you check with VLAN 1 users to VLAN 1 users. It should allow actually. Successful. VLAN 1 to VLAN 1. So by default, this link allowing which VLAN traffic?
VLAN 1.
Only VLAN 1 traffic because this default is access link. Then how this link allows multiple VLAN traffic?
Trunk.
Configure transport.
You need to configure trunk. On switch A port number 14 need to be configured trunk. Where we need to configure trunk? On which port number? On which switch? On which port
14.
number need to be configured trunk?
Port this
24.
switch is 14 port.
24.
No, we connected now port number 14, right? It's not 24. You can see that this topology, port number 14 I connected actually. So where we need to configure trunk?
14.
14.
Switch A 14, port number 14, enough?
And switch B also, port number 14.
Switch B, port number 14. Right. Actually, if both switches are Cisco switches, then no need to configure trunk on both sides. Only one side is enough to other side automatically trunk will enable, because of an all Cisco switches there is one protocol is enabled. That protocol will auto negotiate the action, automatically negotiate the messages to form a trunk. That we call DTP, dynamic trunking protocol. The name itself is telling dynamic trunking. Trunk between the switches are dynamic. Only we need to one thing. One side we need to configure, then other side trunk will form automatically. Any port. In A14 you can configure trunk, then B14 automatically trunk will form. Or if you configure trunk in B14, then A14 will automatically trunk will form actually. So this can be possible only on Cisco switches. Show interface trunk. See, trunk is not enabled right now. In switch B also, show interface trunk. Trunk is not enabled. Only one side. On switch A side, interface pass Ethernet 0/port number 14. Switch port mode trunk. Configure trunk on switch A port number 14 only. Now if we check switch B status, show interface trunk. What is port number 14 state? Mode is auto. Status is
Trunking.
trunking. And it allowed which VLAN traffic? VLAN 1 is allowed, 10 is allowed, 20 is allowed. So how many VLANs we configure? It allows all by default. You want to allow any specific VLANs, then you can use allowed VLANs command. Dynamic trunking protocol. DTP is a Cisco proprietary protocol. DTP is responsible for dynamically negotiating trunk between switches. DTP is enabled in all Cisco switches by default. We have two modes, dynamic desirable and dynamic auto. Dynamic desirable actively initiate negotiation messages to form a trunk. Dynamic auto mode is passively waiting to respond to messages. Here you can get understand this concept clearly. Well, there are four modes in each port: access port, trunk port, dynamic desirable, dynamic auto. For every Cisco switch, by default mode is dynamic auto. It means passively waiting. It is waiting to receive negotiation messages to form a trunk. So B14 is the dynamic auto mode default. Even A4 is also by default is our dynamic auto mode. Dynamic auto mode means it's passively waiting to receive. A14 is passively waiting, B14 is also passively waiting. Then which port will initiate the negotiation messages? No. So that is why this link is default access link. Then what we have done? One side we configure trunk. One side if you configure trunk, it is actively initiate the negotiation messages to form a trunk. Negotiation message started here. Another side is what? Dynamic auto. What dynamic auto will do? It's passively waiting to receive. So one side if we configure trunk, it will generate the negotiation messages. This. See, dynamic desirable initiates negotiation messages and send to and response also, not only initiating and response to negotiation messages to form a trunk. Both. So one side dynamic desirable, other side is default dynamic out. This combination trunk will form. Or trunk also can configure. Just a small feature in Cisco switches. In normal Cisco, in normal switches, both sides we can configure trunk actually. Clear? Say in A14 we configured what? Interface fast Ethernet 0/14 switch port mode trunk. In A14 only we configured trunk. In B sides we didn't configure anything, right? So what I'm doing is I have removed B14. A link I have removed in B14 and I'm reconnecting to 15. Show interface trunk. When port number 15 is what? Status is trunking. Mode is auto mode. So other end if we connect any port, trunk will form automatically. Because one side we configured already trunk. It is started initiation negotiation message. Okay. Right. There are three switches. Can be multiple switches also. Example, three switches. Switch A, B, and C. And there is no interlink between A, B, C. No interlink. Three are different switches. So total, how many broadcast domains in this picture? Yes, please.
Three.
Three broadcast domains. Now have connected a uplink from switch A to switch B. Then how many domains?
Two.
Two broadcast domains. If I connect a link between B to C, then total how many broadcast domains?
One.
Single broadcast domain. If it is single broadcast domain, what is the problem? Broadcast domain is huge, more broadcasts. So department wise not secure access actually. Then how to minimize the broadcast in this domain and how to provide secure access?
Configuring VLAN.
Configuring VLAN. Generally, who will configure VLANs? A network engineer, right? Network administrator. Now, a network engineer task is you need to create VLANs on department wise, sections wise, project wise, like that. So there is a requirement need to create VLANs in switch A, those are VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, VLAN 40, VLAN 50, VLAN 60, like this. So he logged in to switch A and created these all VLANs. The same departments are available in B and C also. Then what need to do? So log into B, create 10 to 60 VLANs, and come out from B and log into C and create same VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If these three switches is okay, like what there are hundreds of switches are interlinked and creating VLANs. Not only creating VLANs, you want to remove or delete VLAN in all switches. Then log into switch A, no VLAN 30, log into B, no VLAN 30, log into C, no VLAN 30. Like if hundreds of switches are interlinked, then multiple times in multiple switches, multiple VLANs need to be created, need to be modified and deleted multiple times actually. This is a problem. Instead of that, we can use one protocol help is VTP, VLAN trunking protocol. So VTP works in three different modes. Server mode means switch mode is server, client, and transparent. Server, client, and transparent actually. Yeah. By default, every switch is in server mode switch. Switch A is a server mode switch. B is a server mode. C is every switch will be server mode actually. This server, like all switches will be server mode. Example, this is switch A. Now if we check show VTP status, this is VTP operating mode. Server mode. Agree? Yeah. Even switch B, if we check show VTP status, is also server mode. So by default, every switches will be server. What I'm doing is I'll make remaining switches as client. I can change, we can change actually. Make it is client and C also client, and remaining all switches you can make is a client mode. Now, if we configure VLANs in server switch, VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, VLAN 40, VLAN 50, VLAN 60. Like if we configure VLANs in server switch, then automatically same VLAN information will be replicated into all client switches. VLAN will be A and B and C. So C will update to D, D will update to F. Like throughout domain, all switches will maintain the same VLAN ID, same VLAN's information. So VTP protocol used to maintain VLAN configuration consistency throughout the network. Actually, if we just create VLANs in server, then automatically replicate to all client switches. Or if we delete VLANs in server, no VLAN 40, 50, 60, then automatically it will be removed in all client switches throughout the network. Whatever the modification is done in server, replicate to all client switches. Okay.
Uh, I have a doubt.
Yes, please.
Like, is it mandate that all the VLANs from server should be like the same in client and other two clients? Like, if there are 80, 80 VLAN like VLAN till we have it till VLAN 80, and in client, can we have till 60 or we need 80 in client as well?
80.
Okay, is it like it is mandate that all the VLANs should be matched?
Whatever VLANs you created in server, it will replicate automatically in client.
Okay.
Like in server, it is 80, 1 to 80 VLANs,
Mhm.
and client also will get 1 to 80. Like how
Sometimes it
many
is
switches
like
in the client in the network, all switches will maintain the same, automatically get information actually.
what if I want few departments not to be communicated with other branch departments?
They don't communicate, right? Like VLAN 10, VLAN 20, they don't communicate.
No, I'm talking about server and client. Like if in server A there is a department 60 VLAN which is using VLAN 60, and if I don't want that VLAN 60 to communicate with B1's VLAN 60.
No, they can communicate
Okay.
because broadcast will come to B also. VLANs are same one single broadcast domain. Na? They
Yes.
can come.
Okay.
But here, point is, if you need any specific VLANs in any specific switch, so that VLAN you should not require in other switches. Then we have an option called transparent.
Okay. Okay.
Like if we need a VLAN 85, VLAN number 85 in only in B. Generally, if we create VLAN 85 in server, the 85 VLAN will be go to all client switches now automatically, right?
Yes.
But I need only VLAN 85 in B. Then we need to make the usage B is a transparent. then we can create action.
Okay.
Yeah. See, one more point is network admin will log into server and creating VLANs. But the junior engineers are connected to B or connected to C. So what these junior engineers will do, they also can create VLANs and delete VLANs. If we create and if we delete, it will be replicating throughout the domain. Problem. So VTP, we want to create a VLANs or delete a VLANs or modify VLANs is possible only in server mode switch. If switch is in a client mode, we cannot create, we cannot delete, we cannot modify VLANs. We can create, we can delete, we can modify VLANs in only in client mode switch. If switch is a server mode, we cannot create actually. We'll get a VLANs from server, that's all. If switch B is a client, can we create VLANs in switch B?
No.
No, we cannot create. But I need a specific VLAN 85 in B switch. I cannot create VLAN because the client mode. Where we can create VLAN in A. If we create a VLAN 85 in A, then 85 will replicate to throughout the domain. But that we don't require actually. That we don't want. We need 85 and only B. Then make switch B is a transparent switch. So transparent switch like a almost server because we can create, but that will be replicated only in B. So if we create VLANs in transparent, that VLANs belongs to only that switch. It will not replicate to any other switches actually. Transparency does not synchronize with any other VLANs. So synchronization happens only for server and client. And for the synchronization also, VLAN domain name, VTP domain name password must match. Then only synchronize happen actually. VLAN trunking protocol, so proprietary protocol this is created to maintain VLAN configuration consistency throughout the network. Dynamic reporting. If you just add any switch in the network, VLANs will come automatically. VTP only works when trunk is configured on fast Ethernet or higher ports. Your trunk links must be minimum 100 Mbps ports.
Will there be any issue if we suddenly introduced a new switch with server configuration in the VTP?
Yeah, we need to check that default which mode it is the switch. Default is server mode. If we connect that switch to existing network, existing server, what are the VLANs is available, that VLANs come into this new switch added automatically.
Okay.
When if domain name and password is matching, that new switch should configure same domain name and same password.
Okay.
Server mode is default. We can create, we can delete, we can modify VLANs. It forward advertisements and synchronizes. Even server to server also synchronization is done. If it is switch is client mode, we cannot create, we cannot delete, we cannot modify VLANs, and it forwards and synchronizes. But it's transparent switch. In transparent, we can create, we can modify and delete VLANs only for that switch. If we create VLAN 85 in transparent, that 85 belongs to only that switch. It will not replicate other switches actually. Got it?
Who can make a switch transparent? Is it the network admin?
Yeah, the network admin who knows his credentials to log into switch.
Okay.
Then we can make it actually. You need to come to privilege mode.
So in a network, can VTP domain can have both client and transparent modes when server is there?
VTP? Sorry?
Can we configure one switch as client and one switch as transparent when VTP is in server?
So one switch is a client, one switch is transparent. Okay.
I
In
have,
transparent switch, we can create.
yeah, I have 10 switches. In 10 switches,
Okay.
one is the server and remaining 9 are client. Can I add 10th switch as a transparent?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So out of total 10 switches, one is a server, remaining 9. Out of 9, one is a transparent, 8 clients. Then what happened? In server switch, if we create VLANs, all VLANs will replicate into client. The one which is a transparent, that does not synchronize action. Means if we create a VLANs in server, that will replicate into only in client, not in transparent.
Okay.
In transparent, we can create. If we create VLANs in transparent, that VLANs will not replicate to any other clients or any other server. That is
But I'll be able
transparent,
to,
create, modify, delete VLANs only for local. Yeah.
yeah, but I'll be able to communicate, right? Say VLAN 10 is configured in server. I manually created a VLAN 10 in transparent. Will both
Communication is
communicate?
possible. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Manually can create. Yeah. See, this is a configuration. Like this, we can change the modes. VTP mode, server, or client, or transparent. We can make it. VTP domain name and password. We'll try to do this practical. See, switch B, show VTP status. Is server, let me make it as a client. VTP mode, client. switch A, show VTP status. Okay. This is B, this is A, right? I'll do one thing. I'll make it export change as well. Yeah. Show VTP status. Switch A is what? Server. Show VTP status. VTP operating mode. B is client. Okay. Now VTP domain name is Cisco. VTP password is CCNA. Same domain name and same password need to be in A, both. VTP domain is Cisco. VTP password CCNA. Now can check show VTP status. VTP domain name is Cisco. Here also in switch B. VTP domain name is Cisco. Right. Let us create some new VLANs in server mode. Before that, let me check any VLANs available or not. Show VLAN brief. Here, we do not have any VLANs, right? Only VLAN 10 sales, VLAN 20 HR. That's all. Now I'm adding some new VLANs. VLAN 111. Name A. VLAN 222. Name B. VLAN 333. Sorry, 333. Name C. So I have added ABC VLANs. Now if we check show VLAN brief in B switch, so we can see 1, 2, 3 VLANs, ABC VLANs are added here. So what are the VLANs we created in server, and B it is replicated. Can we create VLANs in B switch? If we try to add any VLANs, VLAN 555, no. So showing VTP VLAN configuration not allowed when device in client mode. So if switch is in client mode, we cannot delete, we cannot create, not modify VLANs. You can only create in server. In server, if you remove no VLAN 222, before it is 222 is there, right? Now if we check show VLAN brief, we don't see 222. 222 is removed. Got it? Yeah.
Can there be
So
two
like this,
server mode VLANs? Can
server
there be
mode
two
VLANs.
Yeah, can there be two?
Sorry.
Like how in the above example you said there are one server switch and there are two clients, right? I was wondering, can we have two servers in the same network, in the
Yes.
same LAN?
Yes.
Okay.
There can be two servers.
Okay.
Yeah. in server 1 you create VLANs, it will replicate to throughout the domain. If you create VLANs in server 2, that information also will be replicated into all throughout the domain actually. In server 1 you created 1 to 10 VLANs that will replicate to all client as well as server 2 also. Server 2 also will synchronize actually.
Okay.
So servers can synchronize and servers client can synchronize. Transparent is
Okay.
just transparent. It's idle. It's indivisible actually. Only local. Yeah. Any more doubts? So all right. So try to practice on these concepts like trunking, dynamic trunking, VLAN trunking. So today almost discussed about only trunking mechanism. So please practice on this trunking between the switches manually to try to start trunk first, and second one side if you configure other side automatically trunk will form. Do some practices like make one switch is a server and make another switch is a client and create VLANs in server, and you can see VLANs are copied in client like, and make one switch is a transparent, then you can able to create VLANs. That VLANs will be only for that local. It will not come to copy in any other client or server actually. Any more doubts?
Send those commands to chat.
Yeah. Configuration for trunking and DTP. VTP commands. Yeah, done.
Can you guys send this one into the sorry. Can you guys send this one to WhatsApp kind of group, please? The chat which is going on.
Right. So tomorrow I'll continue with how to enable communication between two different VLANs. That we'll see tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.